Playing X-Rank can be some of the most frustrating moments in Splatoon, but it can act as a way to gauge your progress and success in the game. This is the mode where you play a series of matches to get an X power. For some, simply reaching X rank is an achievement in itself. For others, they want to reach a specific power level, reach top 500, or get a cool new badge.
Finally!
Regardless of what your goal is, this video will provide tips for playing X rank. I'll be sharing my experiences on how to get top 500 and high power levels, and also feature other top 500 players' advice on playing this mode. Just in case I get this comment, because I have seen discussions about what is considered a quote-unquote high power level. To be honest with you, I'm not really here to define that for you. We can take a subjective approach and say a high power level is whatever you consider a high power level. We could take an objective approach and use averages and medians to determine what is considered high. But by going down this rabbit hole, you, the player, are not getting the information you came for in this video. Maybe that could be another video. But either way, if you found this video helpful, make sure to like and subscribe, and comment what you found to be helpful. With that out of the way, let's get started. One of the most common advice from top 500 players is maintaining a positive mentality. Remember, you're playing a game where there will be 8 different people in a lobby. If you start getting upset or angry because of something you or your teammate did or did not do, this can negatively impact how you perform in a game and lead you to multiple losses. If you find yourself losing points or losing a match, it's important to know when you should take a break before starting your next game. Part of playing Splatoon is not just the physical aspect of it, but also the mental aspect of it, where you stay calm during pressure. If you're not really feeling it and you feel unfocused, stop queuing immediately. The moment you start autopiloting in high power lobbies, it's over for you since adaptation is essential. This next advice might sound like a no-brainer, but use weapons that you're confident on. This weapon could be your main, or it could be a weapon that is considered strong in the meta currently. Based on X rank data, almost all weapons can get top 500. Yes, even an undercover Brella can get top 500. Are there some weapons that may have an easier time getting high power levels? Maybe, but obviously this all depends on the player. If you are the type of player who prefers playing what is strong, simply look at the top 500 leaderboards and you can identify some noticeable trends. For example, Range Blaster seems to be really popular and does well in top 500 for tower control. Does that mean you should use Range Blaster and you're guaranteed to get top 500 in tower control? No, all this shows is that there's a correlation and not a causation. There's a relationship. On the other hand, if you want to stay true to your main, I recommend playing good rotations. You might be asking, how do I know if a map is good for my weapon? If you've been playing your main weapon for quite a while, you probably know what stages your weapon performs well on. For example, I play a lot of sloshers, so stages with ledges and slopes and obstacles will be my preferred stages. Whenever I see Flounder, Mako Mart, Humpback Pump Track in the rotation, I immediately start queuing. But if I see something like Eotel Alley, which favors long range weapons, it might be best to skip the rotation and wait. There's no point in putting yourself in unfavorable situations if you don't have to. As for modes, if it's your first time trying to get top 500 or a high power level, I think it's a good idea to focus on 1 or 2 modes. This not only helps with time management, but avoids burnout from excessively playing the mode where people might frustrate you more than usual. It's all personal preference, of course, on what you like to play, but some top 500 players noted that they pick specific modes to abuse specific weapons or playstyles. For example, they indicate that Rainmaker is a very fast-paced mode, so having weapons that can keep up with that pace or disrupted by stalling huge leads will thrive. If you're not a fan of Rainmaker's fast-pacing or your weapon struggles in that category, for example, maybe play Splat Zones, which is the most neutral out of the 4. Most playstyles and weapons work here. You can be a good painting weapon, a weapon that takes up space, or an aggro QR weapon, and still contribute in winning this particular mode. Tower control is honestly dominated by area of effect weapons and long range weapons. So if you have a weapon that's really good at area denial, stalling tower, or you have a long range weapon that provides constant pressure, tower control might be for you. As for Clan Blitz, I know newer players don't really like this mode because the rules and explanation of how to play the mode can be a bit much, but this mode is actually pretty good. I think it also allows for most playstyles and weapons to do well here. All the prior tips are things you can do prior to entering a match. But what about when playing in X rank? What should I do? One big advice from players is staying alive. You cannot control how your teammates will live or die, but you can control that for yourself. You need to be able to adapt on the fly depending on the circumstances happening on the stage. For example, if you have a teammate who feeds a lot, play behind them and clean up. If you have a special spammer on your team, combo with their specials. It's about making most with the tools that you have. But Gus, how do I know how to adapt? Or how do I recognize patterns on how teammates will feed or spam specials? Well, this comes with experience, but also using context clues to help you make those educated guesses. Splatoon gives you a lot of information. For example, during the start of the match, you can look at people's abilities to get a sense of how people will play. It looks like my Sniper Rider 5H has a build focus on Tacticooler, so use the UI to know when they have specials available. The game communicates information to you without directly telling you. And lastly, the most essential tip of them all, practice, practice, practice. You won't know how you do unless you try. At one point, I was only able to peak certain power levels, but I wanted to prove to myself that I could get 3000 XP, and I did. I also heavily recommend watching high and top level players play the game. Practice doesn't just involve physically picking up your controller and investing hours in improving your mechanics. It also means taking time to watch and review how this game is meant to be played. I think a lot of my growth and progress in the game has to do with the fact that I've been playing in tournament spaces for Splatoon. I learned how my weapon is meant to be played, basic positioning on all stages, how team compositions function, how you're supposed to play each specific mode. I'm not saying you need to play in tournaments to get these skills, but I do recommend at least watching tournaments to see how players play Splatoon. And if you don't know where to watch those tournaments, I have links to two major Splatoon organizations' YouTube and Twitch channels, Inkling Performance Lab and Dapple Productions. I recommend checking out tournaments from these orgs. And right now, Dapple Production is hosting the 20XX League Major Tournaments, so if you want to see high and top level gameplay, come join us on stream. It'll be really fun. So if you have any questions or comments, make sure to post them below. But as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.